Most companies think ransomware is an enterprise problem. It's not actually. Smaller teams are often easier targets because they lack resources, process, and awareness. Just imagine you wake up the next day, your laptops or your desktops where you have your servers locally hosted or on your laptops has gone all encrypted with ransomware. And then you see a message on it saying, hey, you have to pay dollar X amount to get your data back. How will you feel about that? No one would feel good, of course. And that is what we are going to talk about today. And I'm Ashu. I'm based out of Calgary. We support small and medium businesses for cyber and AI. And we have Ricardo with us, who, in addition to being an amazing friend, is a cybersecurity expert, has tons and tons of knowledge, real life examples, has been there, done that. Right? In the age of AI, it's not easy to find people who has seen things really on the ground. And we agree on a lot of those things, yeah, because we have seen how things have matured over the time. We were there when scripting used to be a thing where we had to script launching servers, managing things, having shell scripts, Perl scripts. Now you have so many tools which manage all that for you, right? So thanks a lot, Ricardo, to join the conversation. And yeah, one of the key reason why I thought it's good to have a chat with you so that you can share with all the folks who are going to be watching this about ransomware is you had put a checklist together, as far as I remember. And when I was going through it, I was like, amazing. This is what small and medium businesses should at least review before they even plan to do anything to take it into production. And yeah, that is where I thought you are the perfect candidate who can help sharing a bit of a knowledge with the folks on this topic. And yeah, of course, we have been supporting some folks as well in the same area. So we both can share whatever knowledge we have with the group, whoever are watching, and yeah, make it more informative for everyone. So before we start, welcome, Ricardo. Do you want to say anything before we kick off?
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Ashu. I'm a cybersecurity manager, engineering manager. I've been in this business for about 20 years. Before my current role, I was a cybersecurity consulting manager. So I was managing engagements mostly around NIST and other cybersecurity frameworks. I was also a vCISO for a while. So I have, let's say, a good experience of seeing quite a bit.
Oh, that's amazing. I love having conversations with you because with that experience of yours, there's so many realistic things which comes out of it, right? Which can help others. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, it's great to be with you. And I think it's a very interesting topic. I love to talk about it because it's something that we see that affects heavily companies. And a lot of times it can also affect the lives of people. We have ransomware on medical companies and things like that. So it's a topic that is dear to my heart because of the impacts that it brings. So very happy to be here with you and to be able to discuss that.
Awesome. Thanks, Ricardo. So now let's talk about why do we feel like small and mid-sized businesses are more vulnerable? Although we know there are some very obvious responses to these. I'll start with some of what I think and then definitely add
Of course.
on, Ricardo. But I've seen while supporting small and medium business, first of all, cybersecurity is usually an afterthought. Folks think, oh, I bought a laptop, I bought a desktop, I've given five of my employees certain laptops or desktops, and I've got, say, a Google or a Microsoft subscription. Happy days, right? I can just go ahead and do whatever I want to, no problem at all. I've seen a lot of people saying in the small and medium businesses, they do care about IT quite a bit. It's probably because it is an immediate need. If your laptop isn't working, your monitor
Yeah.
isn't working, your mouse isn't working, but one thing which I always keep telling whenever I meet these folks are that, see, if your laptop, keyboard, and monitor isn't working, you can replace them. But if you get hacked or breached, you can lose your entire business IP. That is irreplaceable. And for small and medium businesses where we struggle to get our name out in the market, get the reputation, all those sort of things. Just imagine if the next day you would see an article online or in the newspaper or Calgary Herald or whatever saying company X got breached, right? All the reputation is gone, right? And that is where I keep telling them that cybersecurity cannot be an afterthought anymore, especially in the age of AI, where things have become easy, accessible. Like you can
Yeah,
do tons of things with AI these days. So earlier we used to call folks like script kiddies, right? And all those
yeah.
good. So now they are not kiddies anymore with
No,
AI.
no.
So
Everyone, I think that's the biggest thing that AI brings. Like the barrier to entry is very low nowadays. Like everybody can be almost anything as long as you know what you want in the end. For example, you can go to Claude and ask, hey, I want an application that does XYZ. I want the interface to look like whatever, and it will create for you. You might need to tweak a bit, but as long as you know what you want, you can get from any good AI. So the barrier of entry and this situation of knowledge, and anybody can access the knowledge that was restricted to a few people nowadays, right? With AI. It's like having a bunch of encyclopedias and all the knowledge that used to be on libraries and restricted, anybody can access. So that is the problem. It makes attacks much more accessible and much easier to carry.
and that is where I think where small companies are usually the real target because as you rightly said, the entry barrier is quite low. You don't need to be super smart to get in. And on the other hand, if small companies have not invested or thought about cybersecurity, that makes it even more easier for them to make things happen, right? So, I mean, that also, and these guys are smart, right? I was just testing with a couple of domains and web servers which I was hosting at my place. And just imagine within hours of having a domain and a web server online, I could see bot attacks happening on the server immediately. So there are bot scanners out there just
Yeah.
hungry looking for something out
Yeah.
there so that they can
Like
go.
if you put an XP, a Windows XP in the
Oh
internet,
man.
in about a minute or so, you're going to see something odd.
You'll see some probably smoke
Yeah.
coming out of your laptop. So that's when I think when we talk about small, medium, we can conclude or we can say that it's usually targeted towards small companies because, first of all, barriers are low. Secondly, the tech stack is easy, right? And that is where, and they, a lot, these businesses usually don't spend on backups or, replication and all that major kind
They
of
need
thing.
to pay, and a lot of times they have no choice but to pay.
So, talking about that, do you have any example in mind, or do you want to take it up at the end, or have you heard or been in any situation where you have been supporting a small or medium company which has ever been ransomware attacked?
I was in the front line. It's funny because I guess I saw the development of ransomware. So I remember, I think the first time that I got in contact, they were still very restricted in the sense that they would affect one machine, but they would not spread. So it would lock a machine, you'll get that warning, you need to pay, yada, yada, yada. But it wasn't as destructive as now that it would just spread and infect anything they could find. So that was easy. Like you would just reimage the machine and then go ahead, right? As long as you have backups, you're good. But then they started to encrypt everything that they could find within the networks, right? And
Yeah.
that became, I think, this big beast, I guess, that is capable of bringing whole networks down and bring companies to its knees. I think there was this case of Jaguar Land Rover, which was a huge case with huge implications. If I'm not mistaken, the UK government had to give a loan to the company because
Yeah.
the situation was pretty dire. And I was in a situation like this. It's rough. And I think for me it was especially worse because I was 3 months in
Wow.
job.
Okay.
I was hired to be a cybersecurity manager. And
Back
then
then.
3 months in, I got a call like, hey, there's something wrong here. Like all our servers are going down. I don't know what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
so that was rough.
Well, hard luck on that one, buddy. I mean, It's just wrong place on the wrong time.
Yeah,
Then,
exactly.
okay, no, so yeah, in most of the cases, we have seen that, especially when it comes to small and medium, and I think you touched upon that, that people end up paying, right? And that is where it becomes even more scary because now we are encouraging the bad guys even more. So that's where I think the message for the small and medium side of the business, of course, it's for the enterprise as well. It doesn't mean that enterprises don't get hacked or ransomware, right? They do get ransomware as well. But I would say their problem might be a bit of a different problem because they do have dedicated cyber teams, they do have dedicated tools, they do have solutions, budgets, which goes to millions of dollars, right? So for them, the issue might be something else. And I think majority of the scenario where I've seen with enterprises, it's because the technical debt, right? And most of the times we all know about the story of CMDB, right? No one has a CMDB.
It's
Personally, if someone comes to me and say that I have 99% or a 95% CMDB, I would say, okay, you're joking, right?
yeah,
So
fair.
80-85% still I would agree, like someone who's actually being really religiously working on it. But especially enterprise has a different problem statement, right? So we'll keep that out of this conversation. So now just to help, and I'm sorry we just directly dived into how it impacts small business and why it impacts small business, but we didn't speak about what is the ransomware attack.
It's important to explain to the people who are watching this, like what is ransomware and why they should care about it, right? So ransomware is a type of a virus or malware that encrypts data. So basically it gets to your files, get to your databases, to the things that you use on a daily basis to conduct your activities, and it locks it in a way that you don't have access to that data, and they request you to pay a ransom so you can get back access to your data. Your data is still there, most of the time still present on your machines. There is a copy that is normally exfiltrated, but you still have that data inside your networks, inside your computers. You just can't access it. And one of the things that make this extremely difficult is that encryption per se is not a bad thing. Quite the opposite. We use it for almost everything. If you do a banking transaction, you're using encryption. So it uses a legit process, which is encryption, in a very bad way. So that is one of the reasons why this is a so complicated attack, because it uses something that is legit and everybody uses for a good thing, but uses it in a bad manner. And then there are some tactics around that, and honestly depends a bit on the attacker, on their motivations. Some attackers exfiltrate the data, then ask for ransom. Some are not encrypting the data anymore. They just exfiltrate and ask for ransom. Some do both and then start calling your employees or calling other people, trying to force you to pay and create enough embarrassment that you would feel forced to pay. So there are several techniques, depends on groups. There are several groups. There are groups that break in companies and then sell access to another group. I think we need to consider that as organized crime. They're very organized. They have connections. So they have multiple actors, multiple, let's say, business units. Like one do the infiltration, one do the encryption, one do the negotiation. So there's a lot involved, and I think it's important for companies to understand that this is not an adolescent in their basement just doing something to show themselves or to gain, let's say, some popularity. It is organized crime.
Yeah. And you put it so nicely there that they have been using legit techniques just for some other purpose or reason. Like, and it has been so that's the fun part, right? You must have heard about how SSL inspection works. That is the reverse of what these guys used to do, right? Man in the middle
Exactly.
attacks.
Yeah.
So yeah, the solutions are there, but it's just some people like decide to make money out of it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for sharing your what ransomware is and how it looks like, the encryption, it encrypts your data on your devices. And then it gives you a message saying, oh, if you want access to it, pay X amount. I think it usually happens in Bitcoins or
I've seen all Bitcoins. This is
bit.
my experience on Bitcoins. And again, Bitcoin is a legit technology. It's not necessarily evil, but again, it's things used for bad.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's so true, right? And that's where it's such a thin line between all these technologies. It's just about the usage of it, how you use it, right? The tech is out
Exactly.
there. It's about how you use it. So, now talking about that, what, and I know you have that checklist as well, right? So, what I'll do is when we'll post this, we'll actually add a link to that checklist as well so that people can have a hand in it and download it and refer it. So we did speak about small companies being target. Now let's talk about the biggest mistakes. Save the top five basics. And I can actually go on this because we have seen so many small and medium and customers all doing the same mistake, same pattern. Now, which I've called it's a simple cyber hygiene to be followed, which you see missing most of the times, right? So starting with a very basic, which is no multi-factor, right? So that is a key which I've seen small and medium businesses not following. You don't need a core IT guy for it. If you have Microsoft or Google, they usually do give you an opportunity to subscribe for MFAs and have your either you can do it text based or an app based. So it's not that complicated where people think. So MFA is a big one. Then of course backups is another one where you have the boss of the company has everything on his device, but then
Yeah.
I mean I do understand sometimes in small and medium companies, it's especially small, it's kind of they're still growing, they have a lot of IP
Yeah.
thing. Sometimes you end up in trust issues and all that. So you don't want everything to be distributed everywhere. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
lose what you're trying to build there.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't have to be only on your device as well. So the founder or the CEO, founder, whoever you may call it, right? They can think about how can I back this up? How can I have copies of it if anything goes wrong? And it's not only about having a copy in a pen drive and leaving it somewhere. It's also about having a safe backup, right? So that it's only accessible through certain measures when needed with proper access controls on it. So that's where usually we see things missing on. And yeah, the key mistake, which I would not say a mistake, but the theme is usually we are too small. Why we don't have to worry about all these things. No one cares about us, no one is going to attack us, kind of thing.
I think
So
people still don't realize that, again, this is organized crime. Think about it. They just want to get money out of people. So, like, you can get one company and ask for 1 million, but you can get a bunch of smaller companies and get less money of each individually, but
correct.
they're going to get the same at the end of the day, right? And these guys have no limits whatsoever. Like, I've seen them attacking hotels, hospitals. Like, so there's not that, no, I'm not going there. They go against anything that they think that could bring money to them. So there's
Yeah.
no such thing as too small or no, we're in a business that doesn't get attacked. So the way I like to think about it is not if, but when. Because
Yeah.
if I think about when, I am prepared, and so I'll have like a good backup that is immutable. So basically that means that the backup once written cannot be altered in any way until X amount of time. It could be like, let's say 6 months, a year, depends. There are several techniques for that, but that basically means that your backup will be safe and cannot be deleted because, or altered, I should say.
Right.
So that would protect your backup. And it's not that hard to do. There are solutions. You can do it in the cloud. You can do it on premises, but yeah, it's not that hard to do.
And to be honest, there are so many solutions out there. There's so much competition now that it's not that expensive anymore,
Yeah.
right? Cybersecurity is not that expensive as people
No,
think anymore,
no.
right?
A
It's
breach is
just
way more expensive. I can tell you that.
no, 100%. And that's where I feel that people should at least start having those conversations. I started my journey in 2020. 2, where I started supporting small and medium businesses for cyber and AI. And I'll tell you, it has been an uphill ride explaining people why cyber is important. There have been so many instances where I've come back after a meeting and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. I mean, people don't get it. But then it feels like this is what I was trying to build, I mean, just to make people aware about it and then provide them enterprise grade solutions at cheaper costs. And as I said, there are so many different options out there today
Yeah,
that companies don't have to worry about that the cost
yeah,
would be so high.
exactly.
A lot of times, these small companies or medium companies, they are already paying for licenses, but they are not utilizing them. A
Yeah,
classic example is the M365, right? Usually you would see people having business standard or business premium licenses, but they don't configure MFAs and
yeah,
rules. And
yeah,
those things are like, I mean, it's all there. You
yeah,
just have to configure
yeah.
it.
Yeah, this
Uh,
honestly, like, I feel that in some level, we as cybersecurity professionals are to blame for some of it, in the sense that sometimes I feel that those people, they just are not educating the topic, and for some reason the information does not reach them. And I think that maybe we need some way to get to these people and to help them and to educate them on these matters, because there are so many examples. Like, I've seen firsthand companies losing a lot of money, like the chaos that comes with such an attack. Like, I personally did 22-hour shifts, like just basically straight working. My wife would be bringing food and I would not leave the computer because there was so much to do. I saw firsthand that. So I think in some level, we need to do a better job. And I'm talking about the industry, right? We need to do a better job educating them and helping them, because there's, as you mentioned, there's so much information out there free. There's so many resources free. For example, we can talk more later, but CIS controls, totally free resource, step-by-step guidance on how to do that. Literally step by step, like, do this, do this. And according to your side, like, if you are small, do at least these. If you are a little bit bigger, do these and maybe this. So, like, it's just following that. So I think we need to get to these people and help to educate them about the dangers, right?
That's exactly the thing which I hope this whoever is watching this video would start thinking about. Maybe they'll gain out of whatever you mentioned here, right? And it'll be a big win if they start using the checklist which we are going to put along the checklist which you have put together for ransomware. I think for small businesses that is a good stepping stone, right? Then you move beyond from there. Maybe, and to your point, Ricardo, that is one of the key reasons why we thought we should have these kind of conversations and post it because awareness,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So you actually are spot on. That is what the idea has been when we were planning this session together, right? Let's
yeah,
spread awareness wherever we can. We can probably add value somewhere. Whoever is interested can just know what ransomware is and how some controls can help small and medium businesses.
yeah,
What are the myths out there, like super expensive? No, that's
yeah,
not the case.
exactly,
You probably are paying for a lot of tools already and licenses already. You just have to configure it, right? So,
exactly.
what has been the stats number of cyber attacks, ransomware attacks over the years? But I haven't seen that slowing down. Do you think with AI, it may get worse?
I think it gets different throughout the years, right? And I think if you look at, for example, I remember my father, I used to have a typewriter, the writing machine in our house. So, like, I think being in a shift on how people work, right? And as time has passed, we got even more dependent on computers, right? So, like, everything we do is through computers. And if you think about personal lives as well, like, everything is through some sort of computer, which is your cell phone. It's a kind of computing device, right? Different, but it still does a lot. So I think that is the reason why these kind of attacks are so successful, because we are so dependent of these devices, right? And I don't see in the future this slowing down or stopping. but I think it shifts and it changes according to how the landscape changes. For example, now with AI, everyone is a potential attacker because the knowledge is there. There is a big brain that is always available, right? So I think it will expedite, the attacks will be faster. And with that, it might be even more impactful because they can attack very fast and do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. But what I keep saying when I talk to people and when I write on LinkedIn is that the basics are still the same and have been the same for like 20 years, right? So identity,
100%.
detection, prevention, recovery, it's all there. The frameworks all talk about the same pillars over and
Yeah.
over again. That didn't
Right.
change. It's not going to change. So I think if you get the basics right, you can fix 90% or prevent 90% of the attacks. There's this myth that all these are sophisticated attackers. They're not. 99% of the times they're not. Is one account that didn't have MFA, is a password that is the same for 100 services. You never changed it, so you just use it. So fixing the basics, it's, I guess, the best advice I could give.
Yeah.
Don't think about like, oh, mythos and very advanced AI and quantum encryption unless you got the basics right.
Yeah, that's so true. We keep talking about backups. I think when I graduated from college, that time also we were talking about the
Yeah,
same thing, you know,
exactly. Yeah,
backups. MFA came a little later. Yeah, it wasn't a thing at that point, I think. We used to use those RSA tokens and things like that, right?
exactly.
Hard
Tapes.
tokens were a thing, yeah.
Tape is like, I don't know, 30, 40 years old.
Yeah, tapes was a thing as well. Iron Mountain folks would come, give the tapes to them, they will take it off
Yeah.
site. And that used to be fun days, eh?
I remember there was a company, Iron Mountain, that would grab my tapes and take every day.
It's the same. I think it was kind of a standard. Every company used to do that. And yeah, no, that's actually good. I think I brought up some stats here as well, which actually shows the constant increase of cases, right? And by the way, it says Q1 2025. I think Q1 2026 is going to be even more interesting because AI explosion
Yeah,
with Claude and all those things. So
yeah,
the other thing to keep in mind is the AI companies are actually trying their best at putting guardrails there that you can't
yeah,
really go and say,
yeah,
"Oh, create a malware for me or a Trojan for me." But people are smart; they know how to get things done.
yeah,
And it goes back to the same point, like as you said, it's legit technologies being used for harmful outcomes.
exactly.
So the questions which are going to go to AI models will be legit questions,
Yeah,
but then it can be a person just have to have a basic knowledge of how to tweak codes, and then he's good to go, right? And to the other point which you mentioned about, yeah, either you do one enterprise or maybe you have 10, 15, 20 small businesses and you get them, that would probably give you the same amount.
yeah,
And the other
yeah,
thing is that it doesn't really matter whatever money they get because nowadays bots do the job for them.
yeah.
They just come in the morning, probably go through a console saying, okay, how many was I able
How
to
many I
achieve?
got today? It's like fishing.
Like fishing, yeah, correct. It's absolutely fishing. So how many fishes did I get today in my net? And then it's all, and with AI and all, it's now going to get even more automated, like even communication and back and forth and whatsoever. Yeah, it's kind of crazy time. And
And
yeah,
find someone that you trust because
yeah,
I think, like you said, there are lots of ways to achieve that. And I would just be a bit cautious of people that believes that for every problem there is a product that you need to buy. That's not
yeah,
true. There's a lot
yeah,
of issues that are about processes, about having the people, about knowing how to handle things. And sometimes it's an easy fix. Sometimes it's a spreadsheet. If you're not
yeah,
big, you cannot have a system. Have at least a spreadsheet that you control certain things like asset inventory, for example. You don't
yeah,
need to go into SAP, for example, or things that
yeah.
necessarily, right?
No, 100%. That's definitely so important, right? That product tool is not the answer to everything. right? So, yeah, that's good. Thanks a lot, Ricardo, then for your time. And it was a great conversation.
Always
Ransomware.
is.
Only the conversation is good, but not the actual when it happens
No,
to someone.
yeah. No, no, I know. It's definitely not fun.
So yeah, I hope this adds value to some of the folks who are listening to this conversation. I will post your, if you can share the link, I'll just post that along with this video. And yeah, we take it from there. Probably we will figure out the next hot topic going on, which is challenging small and medium companies, and then come back with everyone. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thanks.